Okay, my name is Aaron Brown, and going to be speaking on astrology and awareness. And I got to tell you, I really didn't think I would be someone that was very into astrology, or constantly studying, reading about it, doing other people's charts. The reason why I say that is I grew up Christian. I am Christian. I consider myself to be Christian. And, for whatever reason, there's certain knowledge that they say to stay away from. And, I happen to have a mentor teacher. And he's an astrologist. Him and his wife, actually, are astrology and numerology people. And got really close with them. And he ended up being my teacher for almost 10 years. And it's been a blessing. And as we know, in the realm of religion, and I guess I can say spirituality, there are more or less certain constructs that we have to stay in to be a part of these systems. And, the intention initially through the prophets that we've had, Buddha and Christ, has been to develop humanity and to draw them closer to God. But it's been skewed in some ways by various types of dogma and things that are really meant to control the people. So they're kind of using it against you. But we need to remember that we are divine beings. We are created in God's image. So I do not think that this conflicts with any type of Christian teachings. As a matter of fact, the ancient sea scrolls were discovered, as you might know, and the Book of Enoch. How many of you have heard of that? Okay, the Book of Enoch. It's a very ancient text. And in that text, it references astrology, and I'm going to get to that in a little bit. Okay, so as I said, I have a mentor, and the way I kind of tested this, I'm an IT consultant, and so I'm really good at analysis and breaking things down and trying to figure out what the system is. And so I took this opportunity to kind of test astrology. And my instructor, he was saying, well, Aaron, what do you recall was going on in your life when you're around the age of 28? Okay, what do you recall? Do you remember any type of struggles or issues that you might have had? And I really thought about it, and there were some issues, where you're trying to move forward and you feel like there's just sludge on you. There's something that's holding you back, keeping you down. And come to find out, there's a cycle called the Saturn return. Okay, happens every 29.5 years. It affects every one of you in the audience. Okay? So what that means, the Saturn return, is Saturn returns to the same point where it was at your time of birth. Okay? Now, I'm going to get a little bit more into what the planets mean, but I will talk about Saturn specifically. When Saturn comes, you better watch out, okay? Because Saturn is also known as the great teacher. When it comes to clean house. It comes to more of, how do I say, shape things up, make things a little bit more concise. It restricts everything that it touches, okay? And so when Saturn returns back to Saturn, which is your natal time of position, it cleans house. Maybe you're in a marriage that's not working out. Maybe you're in a job that's not working out. Maybe there are some personal issues. Saturn in itself has a heaviness to it, has an energy. And the whole point of this discussion is to talk about the energies. Astrology is the study of the energies and how they affect us in our solar system, okay? So Saturn just happens to be one of the ones that are less favorable to us because it doesn't feel good. But think about that time between 28 and 31. Think about the struggles that you went through. Think about how you felt. Think about how you felt after that time passed, or maybe you haven't gotten there yet, okay? But I guarantee you, whatever struggle you were going through was purged, and something new came out of it. A lesson came from it, something profound, because at that particular time, you were officially astrologically an adult after that time. So the Saturn return, the discussion of that between myself and my teacher was a big point in winning me over, so to speak, for the study of astrology. Also, I use it with a relational analysis. How do I connect with this particular friend or this particular partner? And first of all, it's empowering. Astrology is very empowering because once you learn about it, you learn more about yourself. Okay? Some people, well, you know what, everybody thinks I'm crazy, and then blah, blah, blah. Well, come to find out, you just might be. You just might be. You have stuff in the wrong spot. That's karma that you need to work out in this life, and over time, it will get better, okay? But once you figure out where those energies lie and how that makes you who you are, it's comforting. So yeah, I'm crazy. I was born that way, okay? But it's okay. It's going to be okay. Okay, so we'll go into the history. The actual zodiac chart, as you can see, was derived from the Greek meaning circle of animals. Every sign has an animal representation and has believed to be developed in ancient Egypt and later adopted by the Babylonians. And it's broken up into 12 lunar cycles, which are the months. And each particular sign is tied to a month, but not exactly. I will go through the partitions of each sign in a little bit. But it has a great history to it. And so in the past, we didn't have television. We didn't have Facebook. We're doing Facebook Live right now. We didn't have all that, but we had the stars, okay? That was our television. That's when we knew when to grow the crops. That's when we knew who we should be with. We knew what to expect. We knew how to adapt. And like I said, this knowledge is trying to be kept from us, but in a way, it not only empowers ourselves, but empowers the group. Now, back then, they didn't know about all the planets, and I believe there's even more planets than what we know about. Perhaps there's a speaker that's going to talk about that. But the thing about astrology is it's actually adaptable. The more we learn, the more we can apply. So if we discover a new asteroid or a new planet, somehow it can fit into what we're doing. It's just a matter of figuring out the attributes of that particular celestial entity. And like I said earlier, even the Book of Enoch references astrology. Along with these arts, the Book of Enoch states, man learned astrology, star patterns, signs of weather, and the movement of the heavenly bodies. Okay, so a horoscope. I'm sorry, I'm skipping here. A horoscope is a map of the zodiac circle with the Earth in the center. So this is Earth-centric. This is how Western astrology is. It's Earth-centric. And there's two positions that are pretty important. One is the ascendant, and one is the midheaven. I will show you a picture of that. But the ascendant is the sign that is visible on the horizon, okay? And that's also known as your rising sign. And the rising sign, I'm generally able to pick up people's rising signs much easier than their sun sign, because the rising sign, you don't necessarily have to know that person. Every sign has certain attributes. For example, like Taurus men tend to have broad shoulders. You know, Geminis tend to have longer arms. You know, there are different attributes, and their rising sign, you'll see that that's visible with those attributes. So some people are surprised. You know, I've had situations where I can look at that person, just hear them speak a little bit, and tell them what their rising sign and their sun sign is, based on the knowledge that I've accumulated over the years. Okay. So, the chart includes all the planets, the houses, and the way that this chart is built is through knowing the date and time of birth as well as your location. There are, you know, people think, well, you know, how does this chart come about? Okay. Now, I can go into great detail, but I have to kind of draw the line as to how much detail I can go in. But it really has to do with, you know, the latitude and longitude and the physical location. There's a lot of math involved, okay? And it's not until the late 70s that we had a much easier way to deal with astrology. So that brings us to modern astrology, and where personal computers became available. And there's a computer programmer named Michael Erlewine. I have not met him in person, but we have talked over Facebook. It's amazing. I'm talking to the guy who created WinStar. Okay, WinStar is a software, very, very intense software, far beyond what you're going to find online. You can do analysis that is just, you wouldn't even believe. And here's the author of WinStar doing my chart over a Facebook phone, you know, and come to find out, he's from Michigan, Big Rapids, Michigan. And in our conversation, one of the things he was trying to tell me is like, Aaron, you know, you really need to start looking at another form of astrology. He's pushing something called heliocentric astrology. Now, right now, like I said, it's Earth-centric right now. When you have the wheel, the great wheel, it's based on the reference of the Earth. But heliocentric is based on the reference of the sun, okay? So when people talk about, well, what is your sun sign? You know, the reason why people are interested in that is because the sun sign denotes the vital forces, with the vital force within you. It is the main point, okay? You know, just like the sun. And through heliocentric astrology, the analysis is even more in depth because you're dealing with that vital energy, whereas the Earth-centric is more of a generality of all the energies. But that's a whole nother topic. But just know that astrology is way deeper than just the astrological chart. There are many other charts that can be created. Okay, so let me see if I can clear this up a little bit, because I know it's hard to read. There we go. Okay, so here's the basics of astrology. Like I said, there are 12 houses. The first house, now this is just a description of the houses here. The first house is Aries, okay? How many people know an Aries, or are an Aries? Okay. Now, the thing about Aries is number 1, okay? It's first sign in the chart. And perhaps the Aries that you might know cares a lot about themselves, okay? They tend to be a go-getter. They tend to be the person that wants to be number one, the first to do this, the first to do that, the person that wants the attention. There's no surprise because the first house represents the self, okay? And each house has a different theme. And you'll notice the characteristics of that theme is present in that person with the corresponding sun sign, okay? Second sign is Taurus. Taurus is all about resources. It's about money. It's about building things, And if you were to go to the New York Stock Exchange, you might find that there might be a lot of Taurian people that are out there doing the work. They're trying to accumulate. They're trying to build. So that's the second house towards valuables, material, and security. Third house, Gemini. Now, how many of you know Geminis that don't like to talk? It's probably not as many, okay? See, the thing is, you can't really generalize. I want to touch on that right now. You can't generalize just because someone signed, like I said, Gemini. Gemini, they are ruled by Mercury, so they love to talk. They love to communicate. But you never know if they're afflicted in some way. Maybe their chart has an energy that's slowing them down in that way. Maybe their Mercury is conjuncting Saturn or something, But you can't necessarily generalize, because remember, we're more than just the sun sign, okay? The sun and all of the planets with the signs are involved to more or less describe who you are. And the other thing I want to talk about is, how do we get a chart? Like, why do we all have a chart? Is this all luck? Is that we just, okay, my sun's in the second house. Where does this come from? Okay? Well, I'm going to kind of shortcut this for you. The astrological chart is a blueprint of your soul. Okay? It is an imprint of where the energies lie and the karma from your past life. Okay? So, now keep in mind, there's no perfect person on this earth. Okay? And I believe that the reason why we're here is to learn, is to evolve our spirit. Okay? There are afflictions and there are lessons that need to be learned that will enlighten us, that will draw us closer to God, draw us closer to other people. And a lot of these karmas are burned out through a period of a lifetime. Okay? So when you come in, let's say you're born in Hawaii or whatever, and at 5 o'clock in the morning, when you come in and you have that blueprint, okay, your astrological chart, you came in there at that time because the way the planets were aligned was the best match for your soul attribute. So you're more or less sent there, okay? You're received in that place. That place represents your chart perfectly, the way the planets are aligned, the stars, Just wanted to touch on that. And then the fourth house we have is Cancer, which rules the home. Fifth house is Leo, which, you'll find a lot of people in television and entertainment and things like that. Hey, buddy. Are you a Leo? You want to shine, right? This cat's a Leo, okay? Sixth house, Virgo. Virgos are service workers. They're very detail-oriented. Seventh house, Libra. Libra people are great to have around. They're real balanced people. Eighth house is Scorpio. I'm a Scorpio. I'm actually like a quadruple Scorpio, so Scorpio rising, Scorpio sun, moon, Venus, and Uranus, all in Scorpio, 12th house. Ninth house, Sagittarius. They like to get out there, they like to explore, they like to see, what can I find that I haven't seen before? What can I learn that I've never learned? You know, they're the explorers. The 10th house, Capricorn. You'll find these people, they're good for the military, they're good for any type of law enforcement. They usually like to follow the rules. The Capricorn is ruled by Saturn, so it's about structure. 11th house, Aquarius. Those are the people that are great at organizing people, bringing people together. They're really good with the internet, actually. There's reasons behind that, but and the 12th house, Pisces, which is the last house. And they are definitely, how do I say, kind of on the sensitive side, service to humanity. A lot of Pisces, like I said, they're quite sensitive, and they are a water sign. I'll get more into the types of signs in a little bit. But there's another chart here which shows all the symbolism that goes with each sign. But I want to touch on the aspects, okay? When you have an astrological chart, it looks kind of crazy. Have you all seen an astrological chart before? Okay, some of you, okay. It looks crazy. You've got lines going everywhere. You got dots here and different colors and things like that. Well, one of the main features of an astrological chart are the aspects, okay? It's all about the aspects. Aspects are basically just the geometry that's involved in the relationship between the planets, okay? Because planets, they'll be speckled in different spots on your chart, and there will be relationships between the planets in some type of geometric form, whether that is a trine, which is 120 degrees, a sextile, which is 60 degrees. These are some of the listings here. Conjunctions. Conjunctions are when planets are within 5 degrees. They're very close by. So they're almost one. The energy is combined, so it's like doubled up. And there's also squares and oppositions. Squares are, now the first few, like the trines and the sextiles, those are considered to be favorable aspects. Those are considered to be harmonious. The squares in opposition are, you know, if I were to put judgment to it, I would say less favorable. However, once you learn astrology, you really figure out that there's no such thing as right or wrong. It just is. So something might seem wrong at this point, but you give it the time for the energy to work itself out, and you'll find out this is the greatest lesson I have ever learned. How many of you experienced that? Something happened to you, it's like, oh, I don't know if I can make it. I don't know if I can make it through this, you know? The beauty of astrology is sometimes you can see those energies coming and you can kind of get ready for it. And then just keep looking in the future till when it gets better. But try not to have judgment, because there's always a greater plan. You might not know what it is, but you don't understand God's wisdom. You don't know what your spirit guide has in store for you. You don't know what's going to pop into your life. Have the faith. Keep the faith. And that's where astrology has extremely been enhancing in my own personal awareness, where it allows me to completely trust in God, because I feel that God is fair. Some people are born with great aspects in this area. Let's say it's music, but you put them in a room to speak like me, and they just fall apart. You know what I'm saying? We all have our talents. We all have our abilities. And like I said, I think God is fair because we might have something and we might lack in something, but we can always learn in what we're lacking. We can always share what we know. And it's reflected in the stars. The stars don't discriminate. The other thing, I'm taking a little bit of time on the details here because this is really the core here. This is the basics. Astrology is also broken up into classifications of the signs. There's 3 different kinds. There's cardinal, fixed, and mutable signs. Okay? And cardinal signs it means that those particular subset of signs are good at starting things. They're the starters. Okay, they get projects going. Aries likes to start projects, but they don't necessarily end the projects, but they'll help you to get it going. The fixed signs are kind of like my sign. It is my sign, Scorpio. The fixed signs, they will stay the course. We're like a bull. If this is where we're headed, we don't quit. We're fixed. Sometimes that's good and sometimes that's bad. Because sometimes you could be going down a road where you need to adapt. So astrology helps in that way too because I understand the other energies involved. And then we have the mutable signs. Mutable signs are adaptable. Sagittarius, they can be going one way and then, on an instant, go this way. So, that's you. Okay, so cardinal signs, Aries, Cancer, Libra, Capricorn. Fixed signs, Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, Aquarius. Mutable signs, Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, Pisces. And then we have the fire, earth, air, and water signs. The fire signs are, how do you say? There's a certain energy to them. It's very excitable. I mean, I'm also very sensitive. I'm a very sensitive person. Perhaps I'm an empath or something, but a lot of times with fire signs, I can feel them. You know what I'm saying? I can feel their energy within them. And I notice when I get along with someone really good, like instantly, most of the time they're water. Because I'm water. I'm Scorpio, I'm water. It's just really easy to connect with them. It's kind of like a free give and take. And then the air signs, like I had talked before with Gemini, they love to talk. The air signs are the intellectuals. They're the thinkers. And then the water signs, Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces, they are much more intuitive. They feel things more. And like I said, it's when I run into a water sign, I could feel it. It's just literally, it's a feeling of comfort. And like I said earlier, there's some other things such as the ascendant, which is the horizon, and the midheaven, and the opposite of those as well, which is known as the descendant and the IC. So these are just the basics, okay? There's no way we're going to understand everything today, but okay. So here's an example chart. I have a pointer on here. Okay. All right. How many of you know who Edgar Cayce is? Okay. Cool. Also known as the Sleeping Prophet. This is his astrological chart. Born March 16th, 1877. Sun sign, Pisces. Like I said before, the water signs tend to be much more intuitive. I can't say all of the psychics, but a lot of psychics have a strong amount of water on their astrological chart. I'm going to show you a chart of a psychic that I did. And so as you can see, Edgar Cayce, his sun is here in Pisces in the 8th house. And he has a stellium here in the 7th house, which gives him the ability to work with other people, to partner up with other people. You notice his Venus is here. I'm going to talk more about what the planets do in a minute, but I just wanted to show you a sample chart. I can see Uranus is on his ascendant, so there must be, Uranus is a very unstable energy, so perhaps he came across in some ways as, it also represents higher mind, so you'll notice that the planets have more than one representation. It's multiple things that they represent. But this is the chart, and then down here, this gets into the nitty-gritty. This little grid down here shows all of the aspects of the planets for the entire astrological chart, and this is where you can really do the details. And you know, you can look in a chart and get an ideal about a person, you know, and you know what their drive and motivation is. This chart doesn't have it, but there's a south node and a north node on a chart, okay? And not everybody pays attention to that, but your north node shows you the direction of where you're headed. Now, this is not a planet or anything like that. This is a calculation that's done. And the north node, it looks similar to the, actually no, it is here. It's there in Pisces. I just didn't see it. But it shows you where you're headed. Whatever house it's in, and whatever sign it's in, it gives you an idea of where you're going in this life, okay? Because when you come into this life, you don't have everything all figured out. You've got to burn some karma from your past life. You got to work on your new plan. You got to continue to evolve your spirit. But you'll notice when you're in alignment with that north node, when you're doing what that north node is suggesting, your life goes better. Okay, my north node happens to be in the 11th house. Okay, and the 11th house is dealing with groups of people, and I'm here with you. You know, I haven't met most of you, but I'm here. I'm working in groups. Some of you know me closer. Brenda, you know me. I'm in like 5 bands. You know, I'm working in groups. You know, that's my north node. Because I got to tell you, it's not. I'm not even seeking it. It just kind of, you know, you have to recognize what the universe is bringing to you, and it just kind of puts me in these arenas. And once I learned and I figured this out, I'm like, wow, that just makes sense because that's where my north node is. I'm supposed to be going in that path, because the south node is where you're from. And my south node is much more of, is in Aries. So I was much more of, how do I say, a lone wolf, you know, someone that relied on themselves, didn't like to necessarily be a part of what everybody else was doing. And those same aspects are still in me. They are. How many times where well, I have, you know, Tracy's here, where I'm a nonconformist sometimes, you know, where the group wants to do this, but then I want to do that. That's my south node that's still in me, okay? So I have to more or less and be like, you know what does the group want to do? I'm serious. So, like I said earlier, astrology is very empowering because you get to know yourself and aspects of yourself that you didn't even really understand. But now you see the big picture. Okay? Okay, I'm going really slow. I probably need to speed up. Okay, how many people know David Wilcock? Okay, David Wilcock. Okay, he's a famous consciousness speaker. And I don't know. He probably knows Tony Rodriguez. I'm not sure, but anyways, he's on the show Cosmic Disclosure. Well, anyways, this is his astrological chart. Okay? And once again, just like Edgar Cayce, sun is in Pisces. Now, there have been many that have said that David Wilcock is the reincarnation of Edgar Cayce. Okay? Now, reincarnation is very important with astrology because that's how it makes more sense when you believe in that and you're open to it. But this kind of nails it on the head, in my opinion. Okay? There are similarities in this chart between this chart and Edgar Cayce's chart. The chart's not exactly the same, but there are some similarities. There will be some evolution in every lifetime that's going to change the energies in your chart. So do not expect to have the same chart this lifetime, as you do in the next lifetime. But there are some similarities, and look at this. You got Edgar Cayce on the left, and you got David Wilcock on the right. I don't know about you guys, but they look almost like the same person to me. Do you see that? Have you seen this picture before? Okay. Two different charts. Planets only align in certain configurations every whatever amount of years. Okay. Like I said, there are some similarities, not exactly the same. But I'm still studying this, because it's almost like you have to reflect on the past life, to how did things go in that life, and then look at the current chart and kind of derive a conclusion. It's kind of a study. It's a practice. Astrology is a practice. It's not something you can just study. It's something that you have to practice. You need to do your friends' charts. You need to do your girlfriend's charts. You do as many charts as you can so that you can start to understand and learn it more and more. But I thought this was really fascinating. Okay, so what is astrology good for? It's the key to character, and character is destiny. It is evident that a knowledge of astrological influence is important. It may remodel his character and gradually change his environment and destiny. The influence of the stars upon human life is real. Just like, we're almost in fall, and the thing is, I don't know, I kind of like summer better than wintertime. Do you guys? I don't know. It's going to vary, okay? But the one thing about the summertime is the sun is out. The sun's shining, and I don't know about you, but usually when the sun's shining outside, it kind of lifts your spirits, doesn't it? Makes you feel good. Nobody wants to go outside and see a gloomy sky, okay? And what I mean by that is the sun itself, it has a vital energy. There are vital forces that are coming that we receive, okay? A full moon, people tend to be much more emotional. They have already proven over and over statistically that the crime rate goes way high on a full moon. Now, my point is, these are two celestial bodies that we can see. Imagine the ones that we can't see. What, do you think that those aren't affecting you as well? Mercury's not affecting you in its position. We know about Mercury retrograde, some of us do. Things tend to go a little haywire in communication, electronics, traveling, So all of the energies are important. Let's see. I had mentioned before that I'm a Christian, and there's a Christian group called the Rosicrucians, which integrate all of these things. They integrate Christianity with the astrology, and a lot of them have a focus on healing, okay? And not necessarily just in the physical form, but it's called the, it's basically there are certain people that subconsciously heal people. So in their dreams, in the astral body, they visit the sick and they try to heal them, you know. So astrology integrates with Christianity as well. And like I said before, it denotes your blueprint of your soul from previous lifetimes. It shows what one has sowed in previous life, and he reaps that in this life. Rebirth and consequence. We need to work in harmony with the stars so that we can continue to evolve our spirit. Astrology is also good with health. Our body is also mapped out in a way where each of the signs and the planets have a representation. Okay, so here's just a picture of the human body and the different signs. And Aries rules the head, the face, the brain, the eyes. Taurus rules the throat and neck area. Gemini rules the arms, the lungs, the nervous system. Cancer rules the stomach, the chest. Leo rules the heart. Virgo, digestive system. Libra, kidneys. Scorpio, reproductive system, sexual organs. Sagittarius, hips. Capricorn, knees, joints. Aquarius, circulatory system, ankles. Pisces, the feet. Okay? Now, earlier I had mentioned that I could recognize a person's rising sign a lot easier. A lot of times it's because some of these descriptions will be a little bit more prominent in a person's rising sign. So Sagittarius, they do tend to have larger hips. They do, you know. Gemini, they tend to have longer arms. You learn that from practice as well, you know. And then here's the planets, okay? So the sun rules the heart, the moon rules the stomach, but you also notice that it's also associated with its sign. Venus, throat. Mars, muscles, adrenal glands. Jupiter, pituitary gland. Saturn, teeth, bones. Uranus, neural activity. Neptune, pineal gland, psychic healing. Pluto, pancreas, metabolism. So that's medical astrology. That gets really deep. It's really, really deep. Because earlier we talked about aspects, such as the sextiles and the trines and things like that. There are diagnoses that you can do based on cycles, okay, based on whatever cycles that you're going through. We can look at your solar return and see that, there's an affliction in Saturn or Capricorn, and perhaps it might be a bad year for your bones. You might break an arm or break a leg, It gets really, really deep, okay? So what's needed to calculate a chart? We've already talked about that a little bit. Date, time, and location. Now, what activates your astrological chart? Because we all know that C-section is very common, okay? It's not necessarily a natural birth, but a child is born, okay? It doesn't matter, because it's when you take that first breath. When you take that first breath, that activates your spirit, your soul in this realm. That breath of oxygen goes through and goes through your entire circulatory system and affects all of your cells in your body. It connects you to this world, okay? So at that moment, you are activated. The first breath activates stellar rays throughout your body, all of the cells, and connects you to this realm. I guess I just said that. The place pinpoints the horizon in the midheaven in reference to its signs and houses. Go to the next one. Okay, so not going to spend a lot of time here, but this is how people get good at astrology, okay? Because every house, remember there's 12 houses, every house has a representation, okay? And these are just the details that you got to learn. You got to memorize them, you know. First house, like I said before, that's the conscious mind. It's the personality, the physical body. Second house, finance. Third house, communication. Fourth house, home, security. Fifth house, pleasure, music, love. It's house of love. Sixth house, service. Seventh house, partnership, marriage. Eighth house is like other people's property. Scorpio stuff, occult stuff, regeneration. Ninth house, higher mind religion. 10th house, profession. And 11th house, friends, groups. And 12th house is really the subconscious mind, the unconscious world. As well as it's kind of, it's a very private house. You know, some say it represents prisons and hospitals and things. We can get into that more later, but. Okay, and then, so those are the key words for the houses. So, bottom line, you need to memorize these keywords, okay? Because when you see a chart, you need to know what the house is about. And if you have a planet in that house, an empty house is not as important as a house that has a planet. A planet is huge. A planet means that there's some energy going on here. We need to pay attention, okay? Here's the keywords for the planet. The sun, like I said earlier, this is your vital energy. The moon is more like feelings and emotions. Mercury is thought process. Venus is attraction. And Mars is energy. Jupiter is about expansion. Saturn is about structure. Uranus has to deal with electricity. It's kind of a unstable energy. Neptune is much more, it's related to like the last speaker, you know, with being able to feel things. It's intuition, you know, Neptune rules all that stuff. Okay. And then Pluto is constantly disrupting. Anything that Pluto touches, it disrupts and it regenerates. And we talked about this earlier. The cardinal signs are the go-getters, they're the starters. Fixed signs are about stability. The mutable signs are flexible. The fire signs, Leo, Sagittarius, and Aries, have spiritual power. They usually have certain kind of energy I can feel from them. And the earth signs are very solid people. You know, Virgo, Taurus, Capricorn, those are the people you can kind of rely on, you know. Aquarius, Gemini, Libra, air signs, water signs are very intuitive. Okay, so this is an astrological chart of a psychic, okay? And she asked me to do her chart. She's not just a psychic, she's actually a medium, so she can communicate with those that have crossed over. And she happens to be a Virgo. And there's a lot of things I could see in this chart about her. And I know I don't have a lot of time. How much time do I have? Not a lot. Okay. But this was nice to marry two different methods of finding things out, because she has an intuitive method of finding things out, and I have a very logical, structural way of finding things out. And based on her astrological chart, I can tell she's psychic because, like I said before, water is very intuitive. She has what you call a grand water trine, okay? Now, that's not an easy configuration to get. That means you have to have certain planets in certain spots, like pretty much perfectly, to have a certain type of energy, okay? And her grand water trine, she has Jupiter in Cancer, she has Neptune in Scorpio, and she has Saturn in Pisces. This Neptune in Scorpio, that makes her even more receptive of energies, because the first house is the personal house, and she can more or less read you just by being in front of you, hence Neptune in the first house. So this is proof by having that grand water trine, because psychics have this. Highly intuitive people have this, okay? If they don't have it, they almost have it, or they have something else, okay? And that is very water specific. But that was very validating for her, and I'm like, wow, that's just amazing. Okay, and there are psychic transits as well. If you don't have a grand water trine, if I were to look at your chart and you have they mostly have to do with Neptune. If you have a lot of favorable Neptune aspects, that definitely improves your intuitive ability. Okay, and this is my last slide. Okay. All right, so we have a president of the United States, and statistically, most presidents since we've had a president are either Leo or Gemini. Okay? This particular president is a Gemini. Okay? Sun signs over here in the 10th house. This is the house of career and business. Okay? And they are Leo rising. That's a really good combination. Okay? This person also has Jupiter in the second house. The second house is the house of finance. Okay? Can y'all see? I don't know, you probably can't see it, but do you know whose chart this is? This is Trump's chart. Okay? And the reason why I have his chart up here is because he has one of the most powerful astrological charts of all the candidates. And one of the reasons why, he has Mars right here on the ascendant. He's a fighter. He's a warrior. Okay? This is not someone that's going to stop. Okay? Mars is the aggressor. It's a very masculine force here. Not only that, there's an asteroid, Regulus, I believe, is conjuncting Mars. I have to look at my notes. But there are, you can get in even deeper in astrology. You can get into different asteroids and things like that. And Regulus denotes royalty. So in his past life, he already had a connection to royalty. Okay? He came in this life powerful. His second house is enhanced by Jupiter. However, he also has Neptune, which is interesting. So it gives him the ability to accumulate lots of money. Jupiter is about expansion. I don't even remember the key word earlier. But it also, he could also lose money, with having Neptune in there, which brings a little bit of uncertainty. However, his career house is quite powerful. It is conjuncted with Uranus, which makes it a little bit unstable. But when you connect all the dots together, it creates a powerful force here. So this is just an example of how we can look at an astrological chart and kind of sum people up and say, okay, what are these people are about? You know, how do they compare to other people? So that's it. This is my presentation for today. I hope you all learned a lot of details, I know, but that's how it is. Thank you very much. Okay.
Thank you, Aaron Brown. That was very informative. Astrology is something that intrigues me very much, and I plan one day to go down that rabbit hole of astrology, and Aaron Brown is going to be my go-to guy. Thanks, Aaron.